Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Flaming Coq Podcast. First show in a while. I'm your host Hayden Morris. Without much further ado, let's get into it. I'm not going to be doing the normal format I've was using. I've just got a few notes. I'm not going to do any breakdowns. Earlier today, Raging Al Iaquinta, he took a decision victory over Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee disputed the decision. I didn't see it, but from what I heard, it was pretty clear cut who won. Raging Al also said after the fight that he should get a shot at Khabib before Conor McGregor does. Al went all 5 rounds. Conor tapped out. He quit. He asked for an out. I was having a look, and I think some good options for Raging Al would be Dustin Poirier. He's a bit higher in the rankings. I don't see why not. Fun fight. Another fun fight. Guy you could put into any fight, make it fun. Justin Gaethje. You give him a shot with Pettis. I think there's a good contrast of styles between Raging Al and Anthony Pettis. Barbosa, give him Edson Barbosa. He's coming off a win over Dan Hooker. Could be fun, They're both, and the winner gets a title shot against Khabib. Maybe give Al Conor McGregor. It's a fun fight. It's just, I think Conor McGregor, with how big his contracts are, all the money that he makes, it's got to be a main event sort of a fight. I don't know if Raging Al is quite there yet, but any of the other blokes, bar Gaethje, I think you've got yourself a new number one contender. Dan Hooker, he got TKO'd in the third by Edson Barbosa. Apparently the commentators were talking shit about how bad he was, or for quitting. I don't know. Again, I didn't watch any of the fights, but body shots hurting coming from Barbosa. It's got to be up there as the worst. And Barbosa, I think he was ranked 4th or 5th. Give him an Al a shot. You can put him in with anybody. Him and Pettis, I don't know if they've already done it, but a lot of fun. The UFC Flyweight Division, I want to talk about that for a little while. Apparently it's going the way of the dodo, and they're having Henry Cejudo defend his title against TJ Dillashaw. Dillashaw said they're paying me a fuckload of money to go down and kill the division, which kind of sucks. There's not a whole heap of talent there, but the guys at the top, Cejudo and name just not John Dodson, anyway, Ray Borg, all those guys. Dodson. I like Dodson. He's fun. But, give him a shot. Let him fight. But Cejudo Dillashaw, that's a good fight. If Dillashaw can make it down there and still be healthy. Hopefully get to do a breakdown of that in the near future. Speaking of flyweights, and Demetrius Johnson, he just got traded over to ONE FC. Not just, it was a couple of weeks ago now. They traded him for their welterweight champion Ben Askren, and Askren has been calling out a lot of guys in the UFC, talking a lot of trash about Colby Covington especially. Him and a few other guys had some real good back and forth. I don't have any notes on it, so I'll just rush this one out. I thought I wanted to do do another show. It's been a while. And I'm sure you've missed me. But, yeah, there was a lot of talk about who he's going to fight. He wants Darren Till, especially. He says that's a real easy fight for him. Which, Askren, he's undefeated. I don't know how many fights he's had. But, you know, he's coming off a TKO win of Shinya Aoki in one. Great wrestler. I think his stand-up has a little bit to be desired there. But he's getting Robbie Lawler. That's signed. Which, it's a real fun fight. It's just... And you want to see Ben Askren win. You want to see him get to the top. You want to see what will happen there. Him versus Colby. At the same time, you never want to see Robbie Lawler lose. The dude's fun. He's exciting. He's a killer. And he's the one guy in the whole weight class that wasn't talking shit. Apparently, he doesn't talk shit. He never talks nothing bad about anybody. And everyone else is talking trash about Askren, and Askren's talking back to everyone else. Why give him Lawler? I mean, besides the fact of competition, super fun fight. I hate it just because one of them's got to lose, but real fun fight. Coming up in February here in Melbourne, Robert Whittaker, aka Bobby Knuckles, who hates that nickname for some stupid reason. It's better than Reaper. Will be fighting Kelvin Gastelum for the middleweight title. And keen as I was going to get tickets, but they sold out record quick, apparently. But they both coached the Ultimate Fighter against each other. They're both winners of the Ultimate Fighter. And I don't know if you watched Ultimate Fighter 28, but during the coaches challenge they had to, do 13 laps in the heat around a track, and Whittaker just put the pace on him and just outran him. And I know that running isn't fighting, but Gassy wanted to quit. He didn't want to hang in there for that long. And I think that again, I know running and fighting totally different, but I think that it speaks volumes about what's going to happen in this fight. More fun news. Donald Cerrone, Cowboy Cerrone, after submitting Mike Perry and just really sticking it to Winklejohn by doing so. He wants to move back down to lightweight from welter, because he thinks he can make a more serious run at the title. He just had a kid. He wants to really make some money, and believes that he's ready to be a champion, which is cool. There's some fun fights down there. You could do a rematch, him and Nate Diaz. Nate probably won't, because fighting Cerrone doesn't make him millions of dollars. He is scheduled to fight Alexander Hernandez, who he's 10-1. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I think most of his wins are stoppages. I don't know a lot about him, other than he just got put on the PlayStation, on the game, on the EA UFC 3. But by all accounts, he's a bad cat. Looks like fun. Looks like a good, fun fight. And it's great for the division. So, fans want to watch it. Good for the actual sport, which you don't get a lot of in the UFC anymore, thanks to money fights, interim titles, all that other bullshit. But after fighting Alexander Hernandez, win or lose. Fun fights for him. Nate Diaz, as I just said. Dustin Poirier, be good for Cowboy to get him into title contention if he won. He's a solid dude for if Poirier wins. It's a fun fight. He wants Cowboy. He wants to fight McGregor. A little bit of history there. He said that way back when McGregor was fighting Aldo, Cowboy told him that if he came up to lightweight or welterweight at the time, I don't remember. He said that he'd smack the lucky charms out of him. So, and a little bit of back and forth there at the press conference and beyond that. So, I think, a lot of it's easy to make because you've already got all the footage of them talking shit. Put them in press conferences, they'll talk more shit. They're both dangerous stand-up guys. The only reason I see that not happening is Conor, again, like the Rage and L problem. He's a main event in a pay-per-view kind of a guy. If he doesn't get an immediate rematch, which he doesn't deserve anyway, they'll probably put him into an interim title fight with somebody, maybe Ferguson or Poirier. And Cowboy, he mostly gets put on main events, but he'd be in the main event of a fight night card, or the co-main event of a fight night card. If the UFC has a free TV card and they want to make sure people are going to watch and they're going to put on a fun fight, Cowboy's on there. But the best fight, I think, for Cowboy going back down to lightweight, in my personal opinion, is fighting Justin Gaethje again. Just that's a guy who's going to stand there and try to bang it out against Cerrone, which, as bad as that sounds, it's really good. I mean, I don't know how many brain cells Gaethje can afford to get knocked out of his head anymore. I don't know if you've heard him talk, but he talks worse than me. And I'm sort of stumbling my way through this with the duh and he done nothing, all that. But you're glad you tuned in. But Cowboy will stand a strike with him. Gaethje will stand a strike with him. And it's probably the most fun fight that you could make. And I think Justin's still pretty high in the division. So it just works out well for Cowboy if he wins or if he loses. Either way, that's a really fun fight. But back to the flyweights for a minute. Henry Cejudo, again, defending his title against TJ Dillashaw. It's on a fight night. It's the first ever ESPN card, and when the UFC first moved to Fox, they put on the heavyweight title. But this is two world champions. One of them's gone for his second world title, the simultaneous thing. But it's on a fight night. And I know, that doesn't seem fair. I know that the flyweights, they haven't got the biggest presence in TVs and on pay-per-views or anything like that. They don't get treated with any respect by Dana White and the UFC and the new owners. But, you know, there's a potential for a dual champion on free TV. Also on the card is Paige Van Zandt. She'll be making her return against Rachel Ostovich, who she was just recently in the news, in the headlines, for being the victim of a domestic assault from her, I think, boyfriend. or fiance, I'm not sure, in which I know she's apparently suffered a broken or fractured orbital bone, but still cleared to fight. Attempted murder was, I read in one headline, and she's on the same card as disgraced NFL defensive end Greg Hardy, who will be taking on Alan Crowder. There was some controversy about this because Greg Hardy, having been accused and kicked out of the NFL for alleged domestic assault, which later the charges were dropped. I have to say alleged. And Rachel just coming out of another alleged domestic assault. According to Dana White, he said that she's cool with it. She said she's cool. But Dana White also said that there won't be women in the UFC a while ago, and also a plethora of other lies. But speaking to Dana White, there's been a little back and forth between him and the promoter of Golden Boy Promotions and Golden Boy MMA, Oscar De La Hoya. The reason that these two are talking, having a good back and forth, the two promoters, is Dana White didn't want Chuck Liddell to fight again, and he just got knocked out by Tito Ortiz at the age of, I think, 49, and Tito's in his early to mid 40s. It wasn't a good showing. Dana White said that he shouldn't be allowed to fight. Chuck shouldn't be allowed to fight. That the commission should get in trouble, the California State Athletic Commission. De La Hoya should get in trouble, that these two men shouldn't be fighting. 50-year-olds shouldn't fight. And Dana White, I got to agree with him on this one. Chuck, his last fight was 8 years ago in 2010. It was a brutal knockout by Rich Franklin. I think it was his third knockout loss in a row or something. And Dana White came out and he called De La Hoya a cokehead and a junkie, and was just not happy at all with him. And De La Hoya came out and was like, you shouldn't tell a fighter when not to retire. I paid them well. I think it was $250,000 that Tito and Chuck each got paid. Anyway, and yeah, he said, you know, he wants to stick with MMA, promoting MMA. And there was a bit of back and forth there. De La Hoya was pretty classy in the whole thing. He said that he made mistakes with the cocaine way back when, but he's learned and grown from it. And he never once attacked Dana White on a personal level. Dana White, that's all he did. He didn't talk nothing bad about the promotion. He didn't talk anything about Golden Boy MMA, Golden Boy Promotions, De La Hoya as a boxer, as a MMA promoter, as a boxing promoter, just as a cokehead and a junkie and all that sort of stuff. Challenged him to a drug test for some reason. This is a guy that hangs out with Conor McGregor and calls someone else a cokehead. And pot and kettle, right? Anyway, yeah, Dana White just went and attacked him personally, attacked his character. De La Hoya kept it clean, was just like, no, you know, he's not a good promoter because he's fucking the fighters out of a lot of money, which I think he is, him and the Reebok deal and all that. But so De La Hoya, who took all these personal insults personally, challenged Dana White to a boxing match, 3 rounds, 3 minutes for 3 rounds. Said that, you know, he'd be giving up like 40 pounds to him, to Dana. Give him each both time. They do it on the undercard of a Canelo fight or something. I don't know what Dana White's response was, but I was recently asked on the internet site, on the app of Quora, I think I'm saying that right, what do I think would happen? And short answer is that the former professional boxer would beat up the former boxer-size instructor. It's stupid. It won't ever happen. I kind of hope I eat my words on that one, but it won't ever happen. It's just stupid. And ridiculous for Oscar to do that, because, 50-year-old men shouldn't be fighting, according to Dana White. Just pro wrestlers with no experience. And it's just ridiculous, honestly. Over in Bellator this weekend, Michael Chandler, he beat Brent Primus for the, I think it's lightweight title, and that's Michael Chandler's third. This will be Michael Chandler's third run as the lightweight champion, and good for him. I wouldn't mind seeing him in the UFC. We'll see what he can do against guys a little bit higher caliber. Bellator's done good, actually getting a lot of big names recently. Gegard Mousasi, Rory Mack, Benson Henderson. Michael Chandler won by decision, and took the fight, took the belt. It was a rematch against Brent Primus. I want to say Primus. Leave in the comments if I got that right or not. And I was having a look. I know it's early. He's only just won the title, same as Ray Janelle, just winning. But I'm thinking Michael Chandler, good strong wrestler and all that. I was thinking about who he should fight next. I like the idea of him fighting Benson Henderson again, who I think he took a decision over. Bender's coming off a win. I think it was a stoppage of Roger Huerta. I don't know if he fought again after that. Another fight with Patricky Pitbull, one of the famous Pitbull brothers. His younger brother, Patricio Pitbull, wants to fight Jose Aldo, which Bellator and UFC, let's make that happen. That's a fun fight. Or I think the other fight to make for Michael Chandler is the rubber match with Brent Primus. Primus beat him the first time by TKO with a leg injury, I think in the second round of their first fight. Then an immediate rematch in which Chandler won by decision. Let's just do a third fight now. Gaddy Ward. They had the 3 fights in a row. Let's do it. Why not? Also on the card, the Bellator card this weekend, Frank Mir was submitted for the first time by Javi Ayala, aka Eye Candy. I had a look at Mir's record earlier. He's got, I think, 9 knockout losses, a couple of decision losses, and he's only been submitted once now by Ayala, albeit by punches. He tapped out to strikes. I was saying earlier that if I was a big jiu-jitsu guy, jiu-jitsu is my thing, which it is. I started lessons, classes for jiu-jitsu at Omega MMA with George Soteropoulos in Collingwood, and love it. Absolutely love jiu-jitsu, but I'm a boxer first and foremost. Although fat and overweight and haven't fought in three years, but for the last 3 years, I've been on the comeback trail, so watch out. Anyway, if I was really into my jiu-jitsu and really prided myself on being a badass black belt or something, having a submission loss on my record would just kill me. It's to strikes, I don't know, you're still tapped out, you're still submitted. Anyway, I haven't seen it yet. I tried to look at it before, but not available in your region or whatever. It doesn't look good from all the images I saw. A lot of blood, a lot of a lot of beating for old Frank, who I think his record in Bellator now is 2 straight losses. I can't think who he fought. I think it might have been Roy Nelson. I think it was a rematch with somebody, I can't remember. But he got beat in that. Then he got beat recently, just now against Javi, or Javi, could be a hard J. Also looking ahead to January 26th, the Bellator heavyweight tournament will be wrapping up with a fight between Fedor Emelianenko, who's coming off a one-sided ass whooping of old Uncle Chael, uncle of the show. I don't think he knows that, but old Uncle Chael Sonnen got beat up by Fedor. He says as much. He walked over to Fedor. Fedor dropped him, and Chael I don't think Chael was ever really in that fight. I don't think he prepared well and stuff. It's just Fedor is a weird guy to fight, and it's so easy to underestimate him. But yeah, Fedor beat Chael Sonnen, and Beta is coming off a win over Matt Mitrione, which Mitrione said it himself, described it as being ridden like a pony. Terrible image that I just got. But both guys look dominant. Whoever wins is the heavyweight champ. Ryan Bader's coming in as the light heavyweight champ of Bellator. I don't know who to call yet. I'll do a breakdown probably closer. But great fun, this old tournament. For me, the feeling hadn't washed off of it maybe being crap or something. When I first heard about it, I thought this is going to be fun. A lot of great names in there. And I love how it all played out. Love how it all turned out. And I personally, I think I would have liked to see Chael Sonnen get in there. Just the middleweight coming all the way up to heavyweight and just defying expectations. Yeah. Anyway, a lot of fun. But Bellator are also doing a welterweight tournament, which they've had 2 fights already. The first one was Douglas Lima. He submitted Andrei Karashkov a couple months ago now, I think. And the other fight they had just this weekend, Neiman or Neiman Gracie. I'm going to say Neiman. Again, please leave a comment, correct me. He submitted Ed Ruth just this weekend on the Chandler Primus card. Also, the 2 other fights in the tournament, the one that I'm looking forward to probably the most, Paul Semtex Daly versus Michael Venom Page. It's a fun stand-up fight. The winner of that fight's Douglas Lima. When I find out when that fight is, I'm definitely doing a breakdown. But goddamn, I'm excited for that fight. The other one is welterweight champion Rory McDonald will be taking on the human carpet John Fitch, which Fitch isn't known for having a lot of exciting fights. He has a very boring style. He just lay and pray sort of a style. But you know, I'm excited. I'm keen for that fight as well. I hope the Red King takes it. But John Fitch, tough. He's strong too. I'm not quite sure when that's coming up, but the winner of that fights Gracie. So yeah, lots of fun. Also in the news was I know I said I wasn't going to do news and all that other stuff, breakdowns and all that stuff, but one thing that I guess I got to talk about, because this wouldn't be an MMA show or combat sports if I didn't talk about Conor McGregor. And Conor and Khabib, UFC lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov, they have had a continuance put on their Nevada State Athletic Commission hearing, which I'm not sure what that means. I think it just means they're extending the date so they, I know, it works out better. Probably gives Conor and Khabib a little bit more time to gather up the money for bribing the commission later, so you know they don't get too fined or nothing. Khabib's dad, he came out and said, they're going to fine us, $500,000 or something, and we're not going to get a fight. We're going to be suspended for 9 months. They'll be fined for the brawl that took place after their fight, after Khabib submitted Conor in the 4th round of their fight. Then he, as I'm sure you're aware, it's just if you're not, or you just stumbled across this show and don't know a lot about MMA, I'll just explain a little bit. Khabib submits Conor in the 4th, jumps the cage, and flying eagle stomp is how I would describe what he'd done. He'd done a flying eagle stomp to Conor's cornermen, specifically Dylan Dennis, for all the shit talk before, during, and apparently after the fight. He just jumped on his head. That kicked off, almost kicked off a riot. There was a lot of fighting within the crowd in the building. Khabib's cornermen, they jumped in and they fought. Conor's cornermen, they got into the fight. The fans all went nuts and they were fighting. And there's going to be a whole hearing and the commission's going to be doing all this other crap with them. I think the best thing to do is make sure Khabib, after he gets a slap on the wrist, promises never to do that again. Fine him $100. Of all these people that are upset at this, a fight broke out at the fights. Oh my god. And it's not even that bad. When Marcos Maidana fought Floyd Mayweather for the first time in a close fight, and Floyd was awarded the decision, an actual riot broke out, and there were gunshots in the arena. In this here, a few people got hit, and that's it. Fights broke out of the fights. Who cares? But no one in the fights pressed charges on anyone else. It's all ended and quiet now. This has been a while, and I read a post somewhere that someone said everyone here deserves a little bit more street cred. Everyone was in on the fight, no one's pressing charges, no one's really that upset, no one's going after each other anymore. The only person who looks weak in all of this, even more so, is Colby Covington, because he sued Fabricio Verdun for throwing a souvenir boomerang at him. Just to put it all into perspective. But Khabib, he doesn't care. He's going on a world tour. He's coming to Australia very soon. I'm not sure when. But he's going around the world. He's seeing all dignitaries and doing talks and all that other, what a world champion does. Whereas Conor, there's just speculation about who's going to fight next. I think Dustin Poirier, or if he's not going to fight Khabib, why not give him Tony Ferg? That's the second best fight you could make in this whole scenario. Also, another fight coming up I meant to talk to you guys about was Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar. Should it happen? No. Am I looking forward to it? Yes. Daniel Cormier, since last time I did the show, he became double champion, or DC for short. And when he knocked out Stipe Miocic in the first round, and since then he beat Derek Lewis, who, according to Derek Lewis, should never have been in there anyway. But yeah, they did their fight. Brock Lesnar, he entered the cage after the Stipe fight, shoved Cormier a little bit. A lot of smack talk between the two. And I think it's a fun fight. I think DC, absolutely smashes him. But the fight that they should be making is giving Stipe an immediate rematch. He's defended the heavyweight title more than anybody. He deserves it. No one else deserves it. Derek Lewis, he wasn't meant to be in there yet. He doesn't have the stamina for 5 rounds. He was coming off a very impressive knockout win over Volkov, but yeah, I don't think it was enough to get him a title shot. Francis Ngannou, coming off the stoppage, the TKO of Curtis Blades. He didn't deserve a shot either, especially after the crap show he put on with Derek Lewis. Alistair Overeem, at the time, he didn't deserve a shot. He's coming off a big stoppage win over. Absolutely nobody knows who he just beat. Whichever fighter he just fought, his own mother doesn't recognise that name. He fought nobody, and people were saying Overeem's back, but he fought a guy who'd never been in the UFC before, so piss him off. No one else deserves the heavyweight title shot except Stipe Miocic. And it sucks that he's got to sit in the back while the big vanilla gorilla comes back, potentially off of steroids and estrogen blockers, and just walks straight into a title fight, despite coming off in his last 2 fights in his last 3 fights, 2 losses and a no contest. Also today, moving on now to boxing for a minute, Canelo Alvarez won the WBA super middleweight title with a TKO over Rocky Fielding, and just like everyone else, I had no idea who that was until he was fighting Canelo. I just saw a highlight of it. Canelo hits him with a body shot. Rocky takes a knee, and the ref calls it off. I think it was the third time he'd been put down in the... I think it was the third round. And people are talking about how great Canelo is, and I think he's definitely one of the best in the world right now. But he has in his who he should be fighting is Triple G Golovkin, because they had a draw which Golovkin won. Then Canelo got the decision in a fight that Triple G won, and now he's fighting Rocky Fielding. And yeah, Fielding was a super middleweight champion of the world, but there's levels to combat fighting, and Canelo and Triple G are here. Rocky Fielding is here, and I feel like I'm being generous. No one knows who he is. Anyway, last portion of this side of my sheet. Tyron Woodley, the welterweight champion. There's a little speculation as to who he's going to fight next, because the former interim champion Colby Covington, who won the interim title over Rafael dos Anjos, he couldn't make a fight because he was injured. I think it was a broken thumb. He couldn't make a fight with Woodley, so Woodley fought Darren Till, and in that time they stripped Covington of the belt for an injury, which is a real bullshit call, UFC. I don't really like Covington. His trash talk all seems fake. It is fake, let's face it, but you know, he's working this shtick and it comes off as cheesy and bullshit and crap, but you know, got him a title shot with RDA, and yeah, he won that, and I thought, you know, interim champion fights regular champion. That's how it used to be when interim titles were there, because champions couldn't defend, and it just helped to show, no, this guy here is the champ until the champ comes back, and we unify. Whereas this time, they really fucked Colby, and I hate to say that I'm on Colby's side in this, but also Kamaru Usman, I'm going to go with the first one, if I can remember how to say it, Usman. Again, I look forward to the comments correcting me at the end of all this. Usman, he's coming off a big win. I can't think of who, it might have been RDA. Again, I look forward to seeing a comment on that. But he's coming off of a big win, a very dominant win, and they're already talking about him getting the title shot. Apparently, he tweeted out a photo of the contract that he'd signed and said, "Woodley, you sign your side, we'll have a title fight." I think that he needs to sit back down and let Colby Covington, the interim champion, take on Tyron Woodley, the disputed champion. I don't like Woodley for this. 1 minute he's injured, but then he's not too injured to fight Nate Diaz. But then Covington puts his hand up. Woodley's injured again. Covington wins a belt, gets a real injury, so he can't fight. Tyron Woodley's like, "I'm okay now. Give me the kickboxer, Darren Till." And now Usman, I feel like he's jumping the queue a little bit. He's beaten a guy. If it was RDA was coming off of a loss. I know the whole thing just smells like bullshit. I think that Covington, unfortunately, Colby Covington deserves the shot. So that's what I'm calling for. Tyron Woodley versus the great American winning machine, Colby Covington. And now for the final part of the show. As I said earlier, actually before I get into that, just while I remember, I don't know what promotion's putting it on. I think it's a Eddie Bravo invitational thing or something. But the best jiu-jitsu guy in the world right now, Gordon Ryan, will be taking on former UFC heavyweight champion Fabricio Verdum in a combat jiu-jitsu contest, which, if you're not familiar, it's exactly the same as any other Eddie Bravo jiu-jitsu competition, except for high rollers, in which instance that's in a gi, and all the competitors have to have smoked weed moments before the fight starts. They have to be high, hence the name high rollers, which only Eddie Bravo could get away with making that, I think. But combat jiu-jitsu, no gi, and open hand palm strikes are allowed when both competitors are on the ground. So it's taken on the fun nickname of slap jitsu. Definitely a lot of fun with Gordon Ryan, who I think he's been all the way down to middleweight, 185 pounds, but he'll probably be coming in easily at heavyweight here against Big Fab, who he's coming off a big win in jiu-jitsu. I don't know who against, but fun news for jiu-jitsu. Anyway, moving on. Like I said earlier, I'm on. I've got on this website, Quora, where you can ask and be asked questions and you request answers and stuff. Whole range of different topics, from fashion to psychology, relationships, scary stories, all that other bullshit. Basically, all I really follow on there is fighting, MMA, boxing, wrestling. One of my favorites is hypothetical battles. I once saw a question on there: if all the Disney princesses were in the Hunger Games, who would win? And a lot of great answers there. A lot of fun. Lot of fun questions, and there's a lot of really stupid questions. But I've picked out about 5. I was looking at earlier today, and I thought I'd read them out and answer them on here. So the first question I have here is, has there ever been someone more intimidating than Mike Tyson in combat sports? Which, the discussion I was having earlier with my fiance was, Mike Tyson had like an aura, like a presence of intimidation around him. Like just him being there, and knowing the whole crowd was there to see you get knocked out, and knocked out quickly, made Tyson one of the most intimidating guys that you could possibly fight. And I agreed with all of that. And the first guy that came to mind for me was Sonny Liston, because I was just watching him recently. I can't remember who he fought, but I think it was right before the Patterson fight. This white fella that he fights, and the white guy's looking good. He's moving and he's engaging and moving. He's, it looks like this could go all 10 rounds. And then Liston lands a right hand, and you would think that the guy's heart exploded in his chest and he was never going to get up again. And just knowing that this is how I looked at this, is if I'm standing across the ring from this person, how intimidating are they? And I read a few other answers. A couple said Sonny Liston, and I was like, yeah, this guy breaks bones for the mob. I find that intimidating, and now he's legally allowed to punch you into oblivion. So that's intimidating. And yeah, one of the answers said John Jones, and I don't know, I thought, if I'm standing across from John Jones, I'm thinking, yeah, he's going to beat the fuck out of me, but, the money's good. A couple other guys that I think would be real intimidating, Brock Lesnar, because, he's a giant. He's a goddamn giant, and the only hope that you'd have if you're looking across from him is thinking, well, maybe I can outmaneuver him. But okay, if you've seen him fight, you've seen that is the fastest man of that size. It's got to be. So there's no getting away from him. The Glory heavyweight champion, Rico Verhoeven, I think he is a big, bad, intimidating guy. He's all muscles. He's like 6'7" or something stupid. And I don't know how many losses he's got. But it's definitely not that many. No, he lost to Ben Sadiq. I think I'm saying that correctly. But then he come back and beat the fuck out of old Ben. He put the hurting on Ben Edwards, the governor. I think he's the former Australian heavyweight boxing champ, Big Ben Edwards. Rico, big bad dude. I'd hate to be standing across from him, especially considering that as overweight and as fat as I am now, and I'm not in the right weight class, I still got to go up. So I've just got to get like more dumpy, and then Rico is standing there like he's carved out of goddamn stone, out of marble, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to fight that guy. Another one, a big George Foreman. The crowd, like it's the same as Liston. The crowd is standing there, they're sitting there. You're standing across from Big George or Big Sonny Liston, and you're just thinking, everybody who is watching this is expecting me to get my head caved in. And Big George is certainly the man to do it. According to a few guys, Foreman hit harder than Tyson, so good fun. I thought the former MMA fighter and Glory heavyweight champion, K1 champion, Semi Schilt, dude 7 feet. He knees other heavyweights in the face without having to pull their head down. I'm 5'6", so Semi Schilt at 7 feet, he'd fuck me up pretty bad. He's big, he takes up a lot of room, and he can fight. He genuinely can fight. Over in amateur wrestling, Olympic wrestling, Alexander Karelin. If you haven't seen this guy, he's like 6'5", 300 pounds, built like a brick shithouse. And I truly believe that he was part of either Russian genetic experimentation when he was a child, and the Russians were like, yeah, we make him out of robot and testosterone. Send him to crush America. Either that, or the Russians said, put all steroids in there. Yes, all steroids in that one man. Now make him lift weights. Because Big Alex, big, bad, strong dude. But then I thought, that's me putting myself across from all these heavyweights. I think they were all heavyweights anyway. One of them, that I thought was Evander Holyfield. Because this here's a guy that was not intimidated by Mike Tyson, that was never intimidated, was never scared, and never thought once to back down from anybody. It's a different type of mentality he has. Yeah, old Evander. But yeah, that's all heavyweight guys, and I thought, as I was explaining to my fiance, I was like, no. Just, you've got to put yourself in the shoes of being in this situation. So I thought, what about the women? I thought, who's the most intimidating female fighter that there is? And I did think Rousey, just because, she puts on her angry face and she was just fucking ladies up. But, it ain't her. It ain't Rousey. It ain't Home. It ain't Nunez. Despite all being some of the best there is, the best to ever have done it. But they ain't Chris Cyborg. Chris Cyborg is probably the most intimidating female fighter that there has been. She's jacked. She's technical. She's strong. If I was a woman for a day and had to fight Cyborg, I'd be worried. If I was me and I had to fight Cyborg, I would still be very worried. I think the only advantage that I would have is that, I can tap out so quick, she might not even get to hit me. Whereas, Brock Lesnar, Sonny Liston, most with the boxers I can't just, tap out. I don't think that Brock Lesnar would let you tap out. He would just say, no, you're not tapping, and just keep punching you in the face. But, I don't know. It's just all a bad day at the office. Somebody asked me, next time I do this, I'm going to write down who requested my answer. Who would win between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Bruce Lee? I don't think I answered it yet on the site, but Khabib Nurmagomedov, 27-0 record. During that time, he's lost one round. UFC champion, Combat Sambo champion, a few times over. Has beaten several of the best fighters in the world. That's his credentials, and I'm leaving a lot out there, I'm sure. Bruce Lee, founder of Jeet Kune Do, martial artist, great martial arts philosopher, martial arts actor, never had a real fight, never fought anyone of note. The only fights that he allegedly have were against other martial artists of questionable ability, and stuntmen and other actors that were apparently trying to take liberties with him. And I think against, anybody off the street, hey, Bruce Lee's probably really good, but you put him in there with a real fighter that's really trained for real fights against the martial arts actor, Khabib would fuck Bruce Lee up. Because Bruce Lee, I've had a look at the tale of Jeet Kune Do. Got it sitting over there. And in the section on grappling, it has the camel clutch, which is a move made famous by the Iron Sheik in the WWF. I'm not saying he didn't have any understanding of grappling. He does talk a lot about judo and jiu-jitsu, but he still has the drawing of the camel clutch. Also, if Bruce is going to be fighting Khabib, it's going to be in the octagon, because that's where you make the money, as opposed to on the street. So Bruce Lee's two best techniques won't work, which were the eye poke and the ball shot. Now, I'm for it. They're both very effective, but they're not legal under the unified rules. So, as flashy as his kicks and punches are, it doesn't matter when he's laying on his back, getting his face punched in by a Dagestani who's talking shit the whole time. Then the next question I was asked is Khabib the Floyd Mayweather of UFC/MMA? The answer is no. Both are undefeated. Both take little damage. But Floyd mostly fought guys who were still coming up, like Canelo. When he fought Canelo Alvarez, Canelo was, I think, 23 at the time. World champion, but he hadn't hit his peak. He hadn't hit his stride yet. So Floyd got in there real early, before Canelo was at his most dangerous, and took a win there. Besides that, Floyd also fought like De La Hoya, Arturo Gatti, Manny Pacquiao, all these great names, just after their prime. They've just started to hit the downslide. He wasn't beating the top guys at the time. Whereas Khabib, when he fought Barbosa was his most dangerous. I think Michael Johnson, probably his most dangerous these days. Eloy Quinta, same thing. Conor, he was still kind of the champion despite having the layoff and stuff. He wants to fight Tony. He wants to fight all these guys in their prime. He wants the competition. He wants the challenge. It ain't about money for him. It's about being the best in the world. He wants to fight GSP because he thinks GSP is the best to have ever done it. I too think GSP is the GOAT. But Floyd Mayweather, he doesn't want to challenge. He wants to make money. He's in the fight business. Which is smart, more power, all power to him. But he's not a competitor. Who would win? Both in their prime, Mike Tyson versus Rocky Marciano. Now Mike Tyson in his prime, probably when he first won the title, was 21. He was knocking people out left and right. We all know Tyson. We all know he can hit you bad with either hand. He'll swarm on you and move his head out of the way. Just a genuinely bad cat. Marciano, heavy hitter, iron chin, constant forward pressure, always there. 49-0. I couldn't tell you exactly when his prime was, but let's say it was when he also won the world title from Jersey Joe Walcott. And here's the thing, when Marciano, who, I don't know if you can see this, but got his book just there. Good read that, by the way. A lot of insight there. But Marciano, he'd take a lot of damage and then just he'd he'd have more endurance. He'd outwork them, really. And he did. He had the old Susie Q, but he took a lot of damage. And the guys that he was fighting when he was world champion, Jersey Joe, I think Archie Moore as well, all these guys were old. They weren't big hitters or nothing. Archie Moore, he was a light heavyweight coming up. Whereas Tyson at his prime was about 218 pounds, 220 pounds. Marciano about 175. So around the same height, I think. I think Tyson, too strong, too fast, and too modern. I know it was back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s when Tyson was hitting his peak, but that was a lot more modern and better training techniques than back in the 50s. So I think that Marciano would leave himself too open, and Tyson would just fuck him up. He'd leave him at 49-1. The last question I got here is, do you want to see a 165-pound belt in the UFC? There's been a lot of talk about it, having the 165 belt between lightweight 155 and welterweight 170. It's going to really open up that if it does open up a new division, a lot of good fights there. Guys can come down to that and guys can go up to that. Both of them be more comfortable fighting at this weight. Anyone that goes there, hopefully. What I want is, instead of just the 165-pound belt, you do want it every 10 pounds, 120, 130, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, and 200 pounds. Then from 200 pounds, you go up to 220, and then from 220, another division, 265. Then 265 would be heavyweight, 220 cruiserweight, 200 pounds would be light heavyweight. With all these divisions, you can have it instead at like 225 and 205, 195, 175, like that. But yeah, 190 would be the new middleweight, 180 the new welter, 170 lightweight, 160 featherweight, 150 bantamweight, 140 flyweight, 130 minimum weight, and if you wanted to do 120 pound pin weight or atom weight. That's just for the men's division. I didn't look too much into the female divisions. I just thought, they asked if I wanted to see a 165 pound belt. Yes. Then you got to move everything else around though, make the other 175, the welterweight title 175, which would make the most sense. And have one at 195, then 205, and then from 205 up, just 265 again. I'd like to see a cruiserweight division, give the smaller heavyweights another belt to potentially win, cruiserweight. The biggest problem with a 165 pound belt is that I have no idea what to call it. But I'd like to know what you guys think. Leave a comment. Let me know. Should they have a 165 belt? Am I right? Am I wrong about Marciano versus Tyson, or Bruce Lee versus Khabib? Who do you think was more intimidating than Mike Tyson? Leave a comment. All that sort of stuff. One thing I think I missed, that I definitely meant to bring up, and this is the last part. Recently, big fight in Australian boxing, Jeff Horn knocked out Anthony Mundine. If you've seen the other episodes of this, of the Flaming Coq Podcast, I think that in one I used the word shithead about 4 times to describe Mundine, and I also called him a race traitor, which, feels like something I shouldn't say, but at the same time, shoe fits. And It's the other one, talks like a duck. Sorry, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck. It's a duck. Mundine's a race trader. Let's face it. But Jeff Horn done Australia a great service by knocking Mundine out in about 90 seconds. Possibly less than that, I don't know. But I'm ashamed to admit that before that fight, I thought that Anthony Mundine would be too slick and outbox Jeff Horn. Because I still believe that Mundine's a better boxer. He's a lot more slick, a lot more fast. Jeff Horn, though, is the better fighter, and he turned it, and he showed up. Also, another thing I didn't take into account, Mundine was old as fuck going into that fight. I put money on Mundine to win. I think I put $5 on him to win, and then he got put to fucking sleep. Best $5 I've ever lost. But that's it. Next time I'll talk about Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. I haven't watched it yet. I've got it sitting there. It's been waiting for a week, 2 weeks now. Still haven't got around to watching it. Maybe talk a little more about Junior Dos Santos' future, or where he could go. I'll have more Quora questions. But hopefully you liked this video. Dragged on a little bit. But leave a like. Hit subscribe. Like the Facebook page. Leave a comment, anything. I'll get back to everything. Tell a friend. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. It felt good to be back, It's been a while. Had a lot going on. But, yeah, good to be back. Hopefully one day I can get someone to talk with. Someone to have a conversation. Interview somebody. But that's what I need you guys for. Hit the like. Hit the subscribe. Also, if you don't want to watch, we're going to be on the app Podbean, so you can just get the audio version. Call it the Bellator Dojo Show. So, yeah, look out for that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hitting like, subscribe. Thanks for your time. See you next time. I'm Hayden Morris. It's the Flaming Coq Podcast. Thank you. Ta-da. Bo-bo.